Welcome to the Research Works podcast, brought to you in association with the Healthy Strides Foundation. Your hosts are Dr. Dana Poole
and Dr. Ashley Thornton, and we're here at the AusACPDM conference in Cairns, Australia, to interview world-leading researchers, clinicians, and people with lived experience
to support your practice in being more evidence-based.
Welcome back, everyone. We are joined at AusACPDM by Corrin Walmsley, who is the research coordinator and an occupational therapist at Healthy Strides Foundation.
Hello.
Welcome, Corrin.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Now, it is during lunchtime.
Yes.
It is loud. We've got the team to grab us some food so we don't starve, but we're watching. It looks pretty good.
It does.
Good spread.
It's been a great spread and a busy day so far.
Yeah, really busy day. But, we're here. We're chatting about the paper that you'll be presenting.
Yeah.
Let's look at the title of it. It's pretty cool. It's called The Power of One. Mm-hmm. So let's unpack that, because I think most people are probably thinking about the movie.
Yes. Inspirational movie.
Yeah.
Bryce Courtney.
Yeah.
Called The Power of One.
Yes.
If you're wondering. But I think this work, obviously a lot of us have had involvement within it, so I'm not going to talk as if I have no idea what it is, which seems a bit weird. But it's a really innovative kind of study design.
Yeah.
Can you describe to us, what is the power of one?
Yeah, so the power of one is all about understanding when kids with neurodisabilities start to achieve their goals. A lot of the research that's done at the moment is kind of grouped, so all the kids are grouped together. You can't see that individual change, and the uniqueness of the power of one is really looking at how each individual responds and when they achieve their goals. So we're using a single case experimental design and tracking target behaviours over the time of intervention to really have that individualised approach.
Yeah.
Beautiful
I
summary.
love that. Yeah. And Corrin, can you, for those without all of the context of the power of one, which I feel like we have to a certain extent, how this idea or this evolution of this study design came about? Yeah,
well, look, at the moment there's a lot of talk about opportunity cost, and that's, wanting kids to be kids and not spending all of their time in therapy. And in clinic, we get a lot of kids who are going back-to-back therapy. They're coming in, they're going elsewhere, they're coming back in. It's really hard to see what goal attainment is looking like for these kids. So this really is unique in that, and that looking at how individual kids will achieve their goals. Based on that.
Yeah. And I feel like that is a real priority for families as well, to make sure that they're making the most of the time that they're spending in therapy, but they're not spending any more time than they need to in therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We want kids to do the minimum amount of therapy to achieve their goals. We don't want them spending endless hours doing therapy for just the sake of doing therapy. We want them to do therapy when they see us and be able to generalise that into a wider environment. And that's really what it's all about. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah. We talk about that a lot, right? Like, we don't do therapy to get good at therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well done, you can stand on one leg. Okay, so let's talk about the methodology here, because you have embedded a single case experimental design to track changes, so look at that target behaviour, and I think that explains the power of one, looking at each individual child. But how is it that you are able to look at the overall dosage? Like, how do those two connect? What sort of platform are you looking at there? What kind of methodology, I guess?
Yeah, so we're using a learning healthcare system, and the learning healthcare system will input all of that data, and then we're really able to use that as a predictive tool, and it allows knowledge to be really generalised, translated really quickly into clinical practice using that learning healthcare system.
And we've been talking a lot lately, don't you reckon, about just different kind of study designs.
Yes.
We know the power of RCTs, 100%. You want to compare, you want to reduce bias, you do a randomized controlled trial. But when you want to look at how things are actually implemented into clinical practice, a learning healthcare system allows you to track outcomes from real healthcare to inform future healthcare. But it's just another methodology, isn't it?
Yes. And the rigour is there, and the data is really powerful. Can you talk to us about the data that were collected as part of this study. And
So when kids come to see us, we sit down with the families and we determine their goals, and based on those goals we then set target behaviours. So this is on a 10-point scale, and we're tracking that really objectively and incrementally throughout their program, and evaluate it each time they come and see us, so that we can really track that change on an individual level. That's part of that part of it.
And so the paper that you're presenting here at the conference, how many children, how many data points do you have as part of that?
So in total there's 905 target behaviours.
Wow.
So that's a lot of data, but it's continually growing each and every day. We're continually putting that data in there to get the outputs. And the beauty of the learning healthcare system model is that there's potential for the goalpost to shift slightly, I guess. Like if you're looking at a target behaviour, you know, that as more data comes online, what you're looking for in terms of a dosage might change, right? Yeah, exactly. And the more data we have in there, the more accurate we're likely to be as well. So continually putting that in to improve that accuracy.
And I see in the abstract here, again, sorry, I'm talking like I don't know, but we did machine learning.
Yes.
And I guess the value of machine learning is probably worthwhile talking about, because we're all very familiar with statistical analyses. To analyse our data. It usually comes in, you look at it sort of retrospectively to analyse the outcomes. And then there's value now of looking at what machine learning might do. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so machine learning is unique in that. And it just adds another perspective. So it's supervised machine learning that we can use to be a predictive tool. The benefits of that is that we can continually run those analyses through that machine learning interface, as opposed to more statistical analysis where we're having to get a chunk of data, we get that data, then it goes back to a statistician. So it's just another perspective really, and we're always using that statistical analysis as well to guide the machine learning as well. So it just adds another layer to what we're able to provide to families.
I love that.
It's really cool. Do you want to talk a little bit about the outcomes then? What have you found so far in your cohort that you've looked at?
Well, there's definitely a lot of the kids that we see, we're looking at their co-occurring impairments and how that might impact goal attainment. And so what we're seeing at the moment is that children with different co-occurring impairments may take longer to achieve their goal.
What kind of co-occurring impairments are you talking about here?
What co-occurring impairments? Looking at their motor disorder, so spasticity, hypertonia, dystonia, looking at whether they have a seizure disorder, looking at visual and hearing impairments, whether they have a PEG. So looking at all those co-occurring impairments, but really kind of honing in on ones that are impacting goal attainment. And so the ones at the moment that are kind of really standing out to us, hypertonia, which makes sense, right? Clinically, the kids who we see with low tone, it's taking them longer to respond to intervention and therefore achieve goal attainment. And the other one as well is rare diseases at the moment. A lot of these kids are taking a little bit longer to achieve their goals.
And do you think that's due to the layers of complexity that are added when we start to talk about more of these co-occurring?
It's a combination of the co-occurring impairments and the complexity of those that influence that goal attainment these kids.
Is there anything that has surprised you in the results so far, or is it?
I think what we're seeing out of the results is kind of what we see clinically, but it's kind of reassuring what we're seeing on that level. Which is really nice as well, because you don't want to just be subjective in what you're seeing and what you're relaying. It's it's actually confirming what we're seeing.
It gives you confidence in your ability to reason clinically and know intuitively where children are at within your program. You've actually got the data to back it up now.
Exactly.
And that's so important, isn't it? Like that objectivity to kind of go, all right, so if we have a child that presents in this kind of way with spasticity or hypertonia, they're this GMFCS level, this is their goal, let's figure out how long it might take them to achieve their goal if they're receiving like evidence-based interventions.
That's a really important point, I think, that we haven't touched on. We're talking about green light interventions here. This is
100%.
So we're applying what the literature is saying we should be applying, but the missing link that we don't know is how long does it take for them to then achieve their goal. at least now we're not only just talking about when they achieve their goal, we're looking at different kind of diagnostic groups.
Yes.
Again, trials often are, cerebral palsy only, or in a rare disease, like very difficult to do a trial.
Yeah.
It's any more than a handful of people at one time.
And that's the beauty of the single case experimental design, right?
Yes.
That's capturing the kids that aren't necessarily included in larger research studies as well.
Yeah.
So your more complex kids, your GMFCS 4s and 5s equivalent, and your rare disease as well.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm going to articulate this very well, but I'll give it a go. In an RCT, you have a very fixed dosage, right? So families who are part of an RCT know that their child is going to get X number of sessions, and no matter where they're at the end, well, for the most part, no matter where they're at the end of the RCT, that intervention finishes, and whatever the outcome is, the outcome is. I feel like with the power of one and what you're building with this learning healthcare system, it's a really nice tool to kind of help guide parents' expectations within therapy. And okay, if that's your child's goal, if that's your goal as a family, then that's what this is going to look like. More than likely, that's what this journey will look like for you. That's really powerful.
You articulate that perfectly.
You did. And it's a nice way that we can sit down with parents as well and have those realistic conversations. To set realistic goals and also to have the expectations of when they may start to see those improvements as well.
And the fact that you're tracking them so regularly means that if things change and the dosage needs to change, you can have that conversation early rather than getting to the end of it and saying, oh, actually, we need to do more, or things need to change.
That's a really good point, because there's just as much of a problem of being underdosed. So you've already spent, let's just say you've already spent 15 hours and you're just about to achieve your goal, but we're stopping. But if they did an extra 3 hours, they might achieve their goal and make meaningful change outside of the therapy setting. That's great to know, because if you don't do that, then you've wasted essentially 15 hours. But then if you throw everything at it and you give them 30, 40, 50 hours, but they actually achieved it back at hour 18.
They're doing all this therapy that they don't necessarily need to be doing, and they can be outside and with their friends, family.
Or focusing on a different goal.
That's right. When you start moving on to the next goal, you need to keep working on this. Have we achieved it yet? So where are you hoping to do with all of this information?
It's a loaded question. It's a big one. Look, we have great ambitions for the power of one, and we'd love for this to go on a larger scale for a learning healthcare system and have other sites potentially input into that data, which would be really helpful from a wider perspective.
The overall health context.
And not only is this, able to help us identify when kids are achieving their goals, but also potentially allowing families to know how much they have to allocate to funding and plan ahead for their future. So from an NDIS perspective, that's huge.
Just the cost analysis of it all.
Yes.
Healthcare costs, balancing it out.
Well, sounds like it's going to keep you busy for some time, Corrin.
Definitely.
Well, thank you very much for coming to chat with us today about it. It's really exciting. We look forward to hearing more.
Thanks so much for having me on again.
Thanks for coming.
Well, to all of our listeners, I hope you really enjoyed that. Really interesting and exciting work happening. But that seems to be the theme across this entire conference, isn't it? It's great.
Really is. Reimagining.
Absolutely. So we'll talk to you all very, very soon. We'll talk to you all again very soon. So stay tuned for more. Bye.
Bye.